We're going to go to get started, guys. Effective March 16, 2020, Governor Greg Abbott authorized the temporary suspension of some of the statutory provisions of the Texas Open Meetings Law. This meeting of the Board of Trustees of the Harlandale Independent School District is being held pursuant to the authorization and will limit the face-to-face meetings to slow the spread of the coronavirus COVID-19. See attached open meeting law subject to temporary suspension. A regular board meeting of the Board of Trustees of Harlandale Independent School District will be held Monday, June 15, 2020, beginning at 6:15. It is now 6:18. Central Office, 102 Genevieve, San Antonio, Texas, 78214 via video conferencing. This board meeting will be held via Zoom. Members of the public may access this meeting by the free of charge video conference link by logging into the following Zoom websites: https://zoom.us/j/3770069 password HISD capitalized no more than 15 minutes before the meeting. Additionally, the district will provide a live stream of the meeting via YouTube. That link will be posted on the front page of the Harlandale Independent School District website, www.harlandale.net, the day of the meeting. A recording of the meeting will be made available to the public within 5 business days at the Harlandale ISD website, www.harlandale.net, under the school board meeting videos page. An electronic copy of the agenda packet may be accessed at the Harlandale Independent School District website under the school board /board book page prior to the meeting. The board may go into closed session on any agenda item if permitted under Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code. In such event, the board president will announce the applicable government code section prior to the board going into closed session. Item 1, meeting called to order, roll call, and recording of board members present. As always, roll call order. Ms. Limon?
Here.
Mrs. Cavazos?
Present.
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Mendoza?
Here.
Mrs. Ortiz?
Here.
Mr. Mancha?
Present.
All right, myself, Mrs. Carrillo?
Here.
Okay, I do declare a quorum present, and we also have Dr. Castleberry joining us as well. All right, moving on to item C, recording of superintendent and staff members present. Let me get to Mr. Soto. I think he's unmuted. Is everyone else unmuted? Go ahead, Mr. Soto.
Mr. Chair, tonight we have Richard Hernandez, Assistant Superintendent for Business.
Here.
We have Melissa Casey, Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction.
Here.
We have Dr. Melinda Salinas, Executive Director of Human Resources.
Here.
We have Kyle Blakeney, Executive Director of Operations.
Here.
And we have Albert Rosales, Public Information Officer.
Here.
All right, thank you so much. Moving on to item 2, the board will conduct a public hearing regarding the proposed budget for the 2020-2021 fiscal year. Mr. Hernandez?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Good evening. And if you can allow me to share the screen so I can pull up the presentation.
Sure. Go ahead, sir.
All right. All right. Thank you. Good evening, Mr. President, members of the board. This evening, we'll be covering the budget hearing. We've had a work session 2 weeks ago. Last week, we took definitive action on some of the items as a way to keep the district competitive. So this evening, we'll recap and cover what was discussed during the work session in last week's meeting. So the budget hearing is for the 2021 fiscal year. In tonight's budget hearing, we recap the fund balance and the student attendance, many of the items that we discussed previously, budget items, a budget summary, and the effective tax rate. And as we do each year, we look at our ADA, and because that has a significant impact on our revenues, and as we see it's declining. But we can also see at the same time that when we started this first year of the new biennium, the state made significant changes in public ed funding. So you can see how that affected our fund balance and allowed us to continue having a healthy fund balance. So as we project how we will end at the end of this year, and these are estimates, we can see that on the child nutrition, again, it's remaining to be self-sustaining with a $2.7 million fund balance, which is less than 3 months of operations. We continue to adhere to what the board had said in maintaining 2.5 months of operation of $25 million. The other item that we have set aside, or the board has approved to set aside, is money set aside for facility needs. Last year's fund balance was at 3.1. Action was taken in January to increase that to 13.6. It covers many things like HVAC, roofing, and so forth. That then left an available fund balance of $8.7 million in order to look at what our needs were for the 2021 fiscal year. And if that needed to be tapped, then that would be available to the school. Again, as I said, HB3, we just completed the first year of the biennium. They made several changes to the state funding. They plan to maintain that for the 2021 fiscal year. There is a caveat though, because there's a crisis that we're going through, and looking at the federal funding that's going to be available to school districts. What the state has done basically is tell school districts that they will fund 2/3 of what we've earned, and the remaining basically 1/3 is what's going to be given through the entitlement. So it's really not any new monies that we're getting from the ESSER, what they call the ESSER funds, but merely replacing the state funding as the state sees that there's a shortfall coming in the 21-22 school year. The items that are covered in the budget items, as we did in the last work session, was the TASB pay studies, teacher allotments, campus-based initiatives, and district support initiatives. As I said earlier, the board took action last week to approve 3 of the significant items related to staff, which was the retention stipend, pay adjustments, and the health insurance contribution. Since then, we've also learned some other information regarding our competing school districts, and we'll be making a recommendation tonight to add to the TASB pay study with information that they provided to us. Again, as we said, the study helps us be competitive within our market. It's based on their market analysis, and it provides us to have a positive market standing within the district. Based on that, we've been able to progress to where the pay structure or hiring scale for the teachers has remained above what is the salary market in the local market on the teacher scale. So again, by the board's action, we remain competitive. What we understand from school districts is that they don't plan to change their salary structure on the teacher pay scale, but have provided for a set pay increase for their teachers. And so that's one of the things that is new for tonight that wasn't at the last work session or presented last week, is with the superintendent meeting with his fellow superintendents and the rest of us meeting with our district officials. We understand that the competing districts are providing a step pay increase. What we had presented before was to provide the year's experience for the teachers, but not an increase. But in light of what has happened with other districts, we are proposing to provide that step increase. So a teacher that was on, you might say, years of experience at 3 was earning $54,787. So when you look at the teacher scale that's actually on our webpage, teacher now, they would be going to 4 years experience, but they would be earning $55,099. So that's $312 increase. Now that is what's being recommended in addition to what's already been approved by the board of a retention stipend, the health insurance increase, and the other pay adjustments. We have teachers that are 30 years or more in experience, which are outside the scale. So they would be receiving $500. We also have teachers that within the scale, they're earning more than what the scale shows for the year's experience. If they're above that, they would be getting $500. The second recommendation is what was approved in last week's, which is, again, updating our pay structures and looking at making sure that we're competitive in the market, and also making teacher pay equity adjustments for those that are in the educator career path.
Hernandez, I'm sorry.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Ortiz, did you have a question right now?
Yeah. Going back, the new recommendation 1, how much is that going to cost us?
Yeah, 470,000.
470,000
Yes, ma'am.
for those are for the step increases?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
For those individuals that are on the teacher's pay scale.
Versus what other pay scale?
No other pay scale. That's
Okay.
what the teacher, this is for the teachers.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. So as we covered the salaries and wage portion of the budget, then we went on to teachers allotments as we discussed 2 weeks ago, through the enrollment and looking at addressing student needs. The net reduction of 4 teacher units, and again, these are vacant units, brought in a savings of $222,533. The next area, again, that looked at assessment, always trying to become more efficient, reorganizing where it needs to be. The maintenance department looked at its vacancies, that some had been carried over for a couple of years, and looked at the needs could be met and these positions could be eliminated. So that brought in a savings of $256,630. We then looked at what are the needs that the district is facing and trying to address, some of the students and what their requirements are. One of the areas that we saw that could provide support to students and consistency is to have a pool of substitute teachers, certified teachers, that would be available whenever we have an employee that's out on long-term FMLA, for example. However, we won't pursue this unless we're at 75% normal attendance in schooling for next year. Again, given the crisis that we're in, we want to make sure these subs are going to be utilized when school is in session. The next area is setting up 4 pre-kinder classes for employees. It's a tuition-based class tuition-based that the employees would be paying. And then again, what this would do is help us get students into our system, and hopefully they would stay within our school district system and help in our enrollment. The next area we looked at was the campus-based staff needs. We're proposing to have an additional PE coach. This PE coach would be split between Witzel and Tejeda. That would then allow Harlandale Early College High School and the DAEP to have their own coach. This then will meet the needs of those students. Currently, we share 2 coaches. Another unit at the DAP is a special ed behavior interventionist. Again, this would help us address the disproportionate number there of special ed in 504. The next area we looked at were the secondary schools. We've seen a large increase in art classes being taken by students. We're proposing 2 art teachers, 1 at each high school, Harlandale and McCollum. For the middle schools, we currently have at Kingsborough and Terrell Wells to provide 2 PE assistants, which would help in the transition, since we have 2 female teacher coaches and 2 male coaches, and this would help in the transition and provide that supervision that's needed. On our choir at Terrell Wells and Kingsborough, currently we have 2 choir teachers that serve all 4 middle schools. So with these 2 choir teachers, then it would allow us to put 1 choir teacher at each middle school. We've seen a participation increase in that program. The next area that we've seen is our 2 elementary schools have an enrollment that really they've been sharing a VP when other schools with that similar enrollment have their own VP. So what's being proposed here is to provide another assistant principal that would be placed at Gillette. The current one that is split between the 2 would then go to Bel Air. We're also proposing to have 9 additional social workers. Currently, our social workers are split between campuses. We feel that, especially during this crisis, to stay, keep tabs on our students, provide them the social support that they need during this new period of time. But again, it's a high need area, and so that is what's being proposed. What is also proposed to provide students for education that are homebound, is a homebound teacher, and that is being proposed to help the current homebound teacher that we have on staff. The next area is the result of working with Region 20. They did a staffing analysis of our special ed program, not only looking at student enrollment of special ed, but then our staffing as well. As a result, they recommended that an itinerant support teacher be provided to Bel Air and a second itinerant support teacher at Gillette. They also saw the need to have an autistic unit at Adams Elementary and a behavior unit at Rayburn. These units require one teacher and 2 instructional assistants. One of the other areas that came as a result of House Bill 3 was the teacher incentive allotment. It's a very detailed and complex program with timelines that need to be met, monitoring review that's being done, I believe, by Texas Tech, the program that's submitted and it's under review by TEA as well. This program has the goal of prioritizing teachers in high needs, and then we'll provide that incentive allotment for that. So we need someone we're proposing to have someone oversee that program for the district and maximize the funding that may be available for. We're proposing a staff realignment, which basically provides additional days to meet parent education that continues throughout the summer months, and also provide the ACE program support that extends beyond the school year. The next area proposal is using CAPE funds and providing for a facilitator. They've made some changes in state reporting. This individual would make sure that the district is compliant with that, and also base certifications. One of the most recent changes that occurred facility-wise was moving the group that we have, the pupil personnel, to the Shea Center. That then allowed their building to be used and be designated for our Harlandale Care Center to work with our 5 partners that provide support and services to students, parents, and staff. And so in order to facilitate the use of those partners, we're providing an administrative assistant that will assist in the scheduling, communicating with the partners and families as well. So in recapping where we were at the end of 1920, and basically our funding remains consistent, is that we had $141 million in revenues. Our expenditures were $141 million for the 1920 year. 85% of that was represented by payroll costs. So when you look at the amount that was available, then that helps then look at the incentives or the initiatives that are being proposed, that were proposed for the 2021 school year. Again, as we spoke at the last meeting, the adjustments was $242,000. And as we're presenting this evening to add to the initiatives is the teacher step pay increase, which would be a cost of $470,000. The other items were the savings of the teacher allotments and the reorganization of the maintenance department, creating a teacher pool for long-term subs, and creating a pre-K program for tuition-based paid by employees. The campus-based support program included the PE coach at the DAP, the high schools, the secondary support that was discussed, and again, the elementary assistant principals, social workers, and the homebound teachers. The special education support were the result of the analysis by Region 20 of our staffing. The district-based support and parental support is what we just discussed. The retention stipend is the $600 a year, again, was approved by the board last week, which basically provides $300 in December and then $300 in May. The next item that was approved by the board is a $25 increase in the insurance contribution, which currently it's $325. By adding $25 more, it'll be $350 starting in January of 2021 when the new rates come in. So when you look at the new adjusted amount, adding the 470,000, the initiative's cost was 4.3 million. Subtracting what was carried over, the 946,000, then we have a deficit of 3.3. As we said earlier at the beginning of the presentation, our projection of our fund balance, we are looking at ending this year of fund balance of 8.6, which then subtracting at 3.3, we are looking at ending the year of 2021 at 5.3. Now, we feel that that's something that's manageable by the district. We still have the $25 million that's set aside for 2.5 months of operations. We have the monies that are set aside for construction. Now that is a board action and it's can always be changed if necessary, if it gets to that point. But there is $13.6 million there for the district assessment, facilities, and construction. The other item was the child nutrition. And then of course, we always have to carry over the amount of reserve for our purchase order. So again, it provides a good projection and then wait and see on what's going to happen when the legislature meets this coming spring in 2021. The next item that we cover as part of the budget hearing is our proposed tax rate. Again, just as the initiative from House Bill 3 was to provide tax compression, we saw our tax rate that was at $1.17 go down to $1.06. Again, the state took steps to make sure that whatever revenues we lost by reducing our tax rate was made up by the state. Again, this is the second year of the biennium. It's the second year of tax compression that the state is looking. There's some complex parameters that have been set in place right now based on the formulas that we follow. We're looking at a tax rate of 1.05. That's possible to go down as we get final certified values in July. So the formal adoption of that will be in August. It will not be more than that. It's possible that it will be less than that. On our interest and sinking rate, that's a separate part of the overall tax rate. This amount is based on the amount of debt that we have coming up this next year in 2021. And as the board has been taking action in recent years as far as refunding, always trying to get our debt at a lower interest rate cost. The total tax rate then would be 1.48535. And the difference between that would be a decrease of 0.0136 at this point in time. The last item then is the board calendar, and basically this evening is what we're presenting to have proposed budget approved for the 2021 fiscal year. This is an agenda item under the individual items to be discussed and approved. The hearing is to present the information. Whatever action is taken, the budget must be adopted no later than June 30th. And the second item is something that I mentioned earlier. We get certified values that will have the impact on the final tax rate that's going to be adopted at the August board meeting. And with that, Mr. Chairman, that concludes the budget hearing presentation.
All right. Were there any questions in particular related to it? Ms. Ortiz, go ahead, ma'am. Sorry, hold on. It's lagging a little bit. There, it should work. There you go. Sorry.
On the presentation, page 17, special education campus staff based on ARDs and needs. That's page 17, and then in the center page, it says 21. Or it's ARD needs, that one.
This one, okay.
Okay, if we adopt the budget as is, are these elementary special education units set at the campuses that are listed?
Based and I'll answer it as I have the information. Based on that staffing analysis that was done by Region 20, these are the two schools that were pointed out to require that need. But Ms. Casey or Ms. Taylor can certainly add more to that if they'd like.
Because we have students that are there that have those needs at those particular schools.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Ortiz, we have students that are placed throughout the district, and we have campuses at different locations. I mean, we have units at different campuses. So some units may already have one or two, some campuses may have one or two units already. So rather than overload a campus, we have our units spread across campuses. And so when we looked at this, like the behavior unit, we have a behavior unit that is south of Military. Opening up the one, we have one north of Military. So we kind of take a lot of different considerations as far as location, placing kids, students on times on buses. So it really has to be the cluster that they're in and kind of strategically putting the units where we have the need for them.
Okay. My only concern is Adams Elementary School, which we all know that it was a D campus prior to this and had some issues this past school year. It would have potentially led us to at least getting another D because of COVID-19, but potentially could have been worse. And so as Mr. Soto will attest, I keep special consideration for those D campuses because I want them to be successful. And no disrespect to anybody at Adams Elementary School, because we will have a brand new principal, and we've had a brand new principal for the last 3 years. That would be my only concern, is that I want Bel Air and Adams that are D campuses to have as much support as possible to try and bring up those TEA grades. That was my comment.
That's a great point, Ms. Ortiz. And one of the things with the Adams unit, if you'll notice, it's only first and second grade autistic unit. So those students aren't tested. So they're not part of the testing component that contributes to our rating.
Okay. Well, I'm just saying that the I'm still concerned. I'm always concerned about Bel Air and Adams because they have been and so there are always resources that that we need to, I know, yes, on 3rd grade and 5th grade, but I just want to make sure that that they are given every opportunity to succeed.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Any further question on that, Ms. Ortiz, or?
No, thank you.
Okay. Anyone else have any questions before I ask mine? I don't know if I can't see everybody right now. No? Okay.
Mr. Moreno.
Yes, Ms. Limon, you have some questions, ma'am?
Yeah, are we voting on this one right now, or this is going to be an individual item that we're going to be voting on?
Individual item.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Sorry about that. Thank you, Mr. Hernandez. I know you're going to try to answer that.
Yes.
No one has any other questions? Okay. And I know, and I appreciate Mr. Hernandez sharing, with the consolidation of the maintenance and operations that we were able to save some funds. Also, please keep in mind, I guess when it comes to, I know Mr. Soto clarified this for me, when it comes to the positions that are laid out for the teacher pool and tuition-based pre-K, the FTEs that we would be hiring would be contingent on the 75% or greater that were actually in the classroom. So it might not be something that we're looking to hire until that's something feasible. And then also, I don't know, Mr. Soto, if you could kind of clarify again, as you mentioned to me earlier, in regards to the pre-kinder for the teachers that are based for the teachers, staff.
You're correct, Mr. Moreno.
If you can explain that.
That 608, 744 might not take place depending on where this pandemic sends us with that, the district pool of certified teachers. And then the second part of that is if we do come back, that pre-K for employees, it's going to be tuition based. So it should balance itself out on when the teachers are paying a monthly tuition. Right here is worst case scenario is where we don't collect a single dime from any teacher that's sending their kid to Harlandale, and we picked up the tab. So it is tuition based.
And then also, Mr. Stoll, if you could elaborate too, are those teachers that will be responsible for those classrooms, are they already within our district, or are they going to be added?
Right, we would have to hire them.
Okay.
Mr. Moreno.
Yes, Ms. Limon?
So this is only based on if we have 75% or more. How about on your social workers, the 9 additional social workers? Is that also with them also? Because, you know, our
We would like to move
enrollment
forward. We would like to move forward on our social workers, Ms. Limon. During this time, and as if you've been following, we've had more anxiety. Our kids do need the social aspect, and we do need these social workers.
Yeah, yes, sir, and I do agree in that, but once we go back to a norm, and then we have a normal school year, are we going to be able to have them? Because I think them doing half and half I thought it was a great idea. But of course now since COVID-19, which I do understand that we probably be in need, but what happens when we go back to, you know, when everything's in normal condition? Are we still going to be in need of them? That's my only concern.
I believe we're going to need them now, and we will need them when we go back to some type of normalcy. We're sharing them, as you can see how much sharing we are doing between our social workers, and we would like for each campus to have its own social worker, so they don't have to share the caseloads.
All right, thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Soto.
Yeah, and then just to kind of elaborate on that for Mr. Soto as well. And, social workers play a huge part. I mean, they're very significant. It's tough when you split. My campus splits a social worker amongst two, I think, middle school and 2 elementaries, and it's tough sometimes. So for us to actually be able to utilize social workers, that would be a huge coup for us, because I don't think every school district does that, and we would be maybe one of the first school districts to actually be able to implement that, and that's something that I think would benefit our kids, especially right now with social emotional is critical when it comes to us now. We don't just teach one aspect of the student; we teach and consider everything, and it's tough for our teachers. It can be very, very taxing, and especially with our kids needing multiple areas of support. So I think it would be beneficial. I think the question that you're referring to also, Ms. Limon, was that's the only section that's kind of contingent whenever they have the justification. If you go to where it says the teacher-based one, the one that I refer to, that's the only one that says only hired if we are open to normal 75% or greater. I think all the other ones would be a part of it. And even though this would be, say, approved later on in the agenda, if we came back and had to make an amendment, that would be something that Mr. Hernandez and cabinet would present to us. If they say, you know what, we actually didn't use this for that, we can come back and do something later with it. Did anyone have any other questions on that? Because I did have a question, Mr. Hernandez, thank you. When it comes to like the pay scale, I did notice most of the gaps are good in terms of like $200 or $300, but there is a gap within 15 and 16 that you see a difference of almost like over $800 or something like that, which is more significant than most. I know we're trying to retain our teachers below 15 years and younger. I don't know, that's just a big dip from 15 to 16 in terms of a significant difference when it comes to the teacher salary, like the way it is now. I don't think it's on here. It's on the one that you had emailed us with the teacher scale.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So it's just a little big difference from what we noticed, or from what I noticed in regards to the going from year 15 to 16. So it would be, let me see. I had it put up on I'm working with 3 screens here, sorry.
Oh,
You sent it to us on Friday, I believe.
yes, sir. Let me see if I can get that.
Friday or Wednesday, maybe. Let me see. Just had it right now, I'm sorry. Oh, here it is, okay.
Let me stop sharing then.
It's at 15, it's at 59,525. And then at year 16, it's at 60,409. And most of them are about 250 to three something in terms of difference.
Yes,
but
sir.
It's about a difference about, I think, $800, $900.
Yes, I think it was 884 is what we came up with. And
Yeah.
and that's something that we work with TASB as we go through each year to try to flatten that out more, to get
Okay.
it more in line with the others. But, you know, with this uncertainty that we're coming off of from the 1920 year, we'll certainly look at and then see what the state's going to do when they meet in the spring and see what kind of funding they provide. And then, you know, maybe at that time we can bring those closer in line with the others as well. But yes, sir, we did notice that as well.
Yeah, it's like a little bubble, so I don't know if it's getting larger or smaller, but I know we've worked to try to make it more equitable in that sense.
Yes.
But I guess you guys have that on your horizon, and I guess we can go from there. But I think everything else is fine in regards to how it's addressed. I don't know if anyone had any other questions in regards to the matters or. And then keep in mind, right, Mr. Hernandez, if things change, obviously everything's contingent on COVID-19. You know, we may have to come back and obviously make amendments if necessary, correct?
Yes, sir. The board always has that opportunity or ability to do that. Yes, sir.
Okay. And then when it comes to like salaries or even increasing perhaps the amount added to the insurance, we can always reassess that in September
That's
as well.
what- Yes, sir. And we've done that where we've added to the contribution. I believe it was one time in October. That helped out. So, yes.
Okay. All right, great. Well, if there's no other questions, guys, then we can move on to the next item. No other questions? Okay. All right. So moving on to item 3, public comment. And I can share this if you like. All right, I think everyone should be able to see that. Public comment, members of the public may email public.comment at harlandale.net to register to speak by providing name, phone number, and the item, if any, which they wish to speak. Registration shall be sent by 5 p.m. June 15, 2020. The meeting shall begin at 6:15 p.m. After the meeting begins, each registrant will be invited to speak. Each person must be available to speak when asked or will lose their opportunity to address the board. 3-minute maximum per speaker. Citizens are offered an opportunity to address the board without prior approval. The board president will have the discretion to reduce the time allotment and limit the total number of speakers in order to ensure that the meeting is orderly and managed within technological capabilities. The topics addressed shall be limited to those specifically included on the board's agenda and or district related. The board will not comment or engage in discussion. Presentation shall be informative only. No board action will be taken. Presentation shall not include statements which may be considered defamatory, inflammatory, and or threatening against a person or the district. And speakers shall not mention students' names unless naming your own child, nor address a complaint against a district employee or an officer. Such complaints will be handled through the guidelines set out in district policy. At all other times, members of the public shall not enter into any discussion or debate on matters being considered by the board. The board shall not tolerate disruption of the meeting by members of the audience. If after at least one warning from the presiding officer, an individual continues to disrupt the meeting by his or her words of actions, the presiding officer may request assistance from law enforcement officials to have the individual removed from the meeting. So going back here, set my timer. And I believe the first to address the board is Ms. Natalie Clifford. Let me find her real quick. There she is. All right, Ms. Clifford, thank you so much. You have 3 minutes as soon as you're ready.
Good evening, Superintendent Soto, Board President Moreno, esteemed board members, and district leaders. Thank you for allowing me the time to speak. My name is Natalie Clifford, and I am an association representative for the Harlandale Education Association at McCollum High School, as well as the high school director within our local district union. I would like to speak about agenda item number 4A in relation to COVID-19. Our union is part of a citywide coalition of educators, parents, students, and nonprofit organizations across San Antonio public school districts, advocating to ensure that all stakeholders are central driving participants in the dialogue and decision-making process to determine what going back to school will look like in the era of COVID-19. First, we should follow the science-based recommendations from the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, whose research explores what is safest for our school communities amidst the pandemic. Second, I have spoken with countless parents who are afraid to send their students back to school. Despite the economic challenges many are experiencing due to loss of work, our parents and guardians' number one concern, unsurprisingly, pertains to their children being exposed to the virus and unknowingly carrying it home with them. It is essential that a variety of parents, including those who are Spanish speaking or with students in special education or 504 programs, be active leaders in the decision-making process about what reopening our schools will look like. Third, educators are the most familiar with the day-to-day details of how our classrooms and hallways operate. We know what to expect from student behavior, whether with elementary, middle, high school, or life skills students. Amidst proposals to sanitize our learning environments dozens of times a day or limit students' social interactions, for example, we must also consider what is realistic. Educators will ultimately be responsible for implementing protocols for safe and healthy schools moment to moment. Furthermore, many educators are older or high risk in their health, so they do not feel comfortable physically returning to campus, let alone enforcing social distancing measures upon students. Last but certainly not least, our youth are brilliant and can brainstorm solutions that consider health as the highest priority alongside learning environments that are safe and still centered in dignity and community. In a time when there is heightened public awareness of disparities in law enforcement in relation to Black folks and other people of color, we must ensure that our schools are welcoming and trauma-informed to support our students' mental, physical, and emotional well-being and avoid resorting to increased disciplinary action while students will likely struggle to navigate the unprecedented challenges of social distancing in schools. Overall, we advocate for the district to establish a diverse group of parents, students, educators, and community members, including use of CDC guidelines, to actively collaborate in creating the best solution to return to campus safely in a few months. We believe this will lead to the best solution due to crucial input from all affected stakeholders. Thank you so much for your time and consideration. We really appreciate your hard work and look forward to collaborating with you to keep our youth, families, employees, and communities safe and healthy. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Clifford. All right, right on time. Okay, moving on to the next person. We have Ms. Corina Andrade. Let me see if I can find her real quick. I don't know, Ms. Andrade is available.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, I can hear you.
Okay,
Sorry.
no, that's okay.
Go ahead, ma'am.
Good evening, board members, Superintendent Soto, the committee, and guests of Harlandale ISD. My name is Corina Andrade, and I would like to take this opportunity to thank Mr. Garcia for the leadership as principal at McCollum High School. During my 30 years of service at McCollum, I have worked with several amazing principals, and Mr. Garcia, you are right on top. Being an alumnus of the school, you were able to connect with students, boosting morale and bringing the green and gold pride back on campus. You had an open door policy and were always willing to listen and make fair judgments. Your leadership is apparent by us having the highest state accountability index rating inside Loop 410 and South Bexar County. You have made a positive impact on me and many others. Even though I don't understand the reason for this move, especially at this crucial time when change may not be in the best interest of our students. I know you will do a great job as the new transportation director. Once again, thank you, Mr. Garcia, for your dedication and service to the students and staff of McCollum High School. Thank you, board, for letting me speak.
Mr. Moreno?
Yes, can you hear me there? I'm sorry.
Yes. During the time that the speakers are on, can you take off the agenda?
Sure.
So just scroll through, trying to find who's speaking. Thank you.
All right. We're going to go ahead and let's see. We just had Miss Scales. As soon as you're ready, ma'am. You have 3 minutes.
Okay, it's under, says Christian USD on our Christian on my deal. Good evening. Today, as an officer of McCollum High School PTA for the last several years, as an alumni of MHS, whose children and grandchildren also are alumni of MHS, I am here to speak on district-related issues and agenda item 7C. I'm extremely concerned with the rush this board has been placed regarding replacement of perhaps the best principal McCollum High School has had in years, if not decades. The current principal's last day was last Friday. And here you are, 3 days later, being asked to consider and take appropriate action to appoint a new principal. This board has been under so much scrutiny, and now we are being asked to approve the removal of our principal without any explanation and an urgency to name a new principal without a posting for such a high-profile position. This definitely raises tons of red flags for all of us involved with McCollum High School. What is the reason? What is the rush? Why in the world would you replace a principal with so many distinguishments and awards? A principal who elevated both Terrell Wells Middle School and McCollum High School to outstanding academic levels. You're being asked to replace a principal that has shown a record of improving students academically. McCollum High School is in great academic standings with TEA, and our principal has brought back pride and spirit to our schools for students as well as faculty and staff. He was even a finalist for secondary principal for HEB Excellence in Education Award. There's been no reason given, but what is coming out as a reason is he talked to board members. This makes absolutely no sense when just last month, this board approved a recommendation to appoint a principal who constantly talks to board members about highly political issues, campaigning for board members, and has been president of our teachers union one of our teachers unions for several years. Our principal is very justified to talk to 3 of you who have or had children at McCollum High School. It would be unethical to close off communication with you. Furthermore, the state education code states the employment policy may not restrict the ability of a
10 seconds, ma'am.
a school district employee to communicate directly with a member of the Board of Trustees regarding a matter related to the district. There are no grounds for our principal's removal, and I adamantly ask this board to deny any recommendation for replacement of our principal and to restore him as our principal. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Sorry about that. Okay. Timer was silent. Moving on to, is there a person by the name of Jaden Munoz? I'm looking for Jaden Munoz on here. Jaden Munoz by chance there? Jaden Munoz, I'm not seeing the name. One more time, is there a Jaden Munoz there somewhere? I'm not seeing the phone number either. Okay. Well, we'll move on to the next person. Miss Martinez, Miss Maricruz Martinez. Let me see if I see her. I know she was right here.
Hello.
Right. Yeah, right there, Miss Martinez. Okay. Whenever you're ready.
Good evening, Superintendent Soto, board members, Dr. Castleberry, faculty, staff, and community. Change is often fun and re-energizing. Other times it is difficult and maybe confusing. The best kind of change leads to growth, stability, restoration, and improvement. Education has really seen and been through many changes in recent months. Harlando ISD rose to the challenge of all these changes by doing what was needed for our students, communities, admin, faculty, and staff. I would like to say thank you to our superintendent for his leadership and to his team for all the support and how quickly everything was brought together so that campus admin, faculty, and staff could continue teaching and supporting our students' learning and growth. Thank you to our school board for continuing to be present and active within our communities and for moving our district forward into continued future success. You were each voted in to sit at the board table as leaders and our voice in representation of us and with a thought in doing what is best for our students, those who teach them, and our great district. Even during these difficult times of uncertainty, you voted last week to give all employees a $600 stipend and a $25 increase to help with the offered medical insurance, bringing that total contribution to $350. Increase in salary is granted that will be welcomed as well. In speaking with colleagues, many feel the same. We are grateful and wish to continue to support decisions made that will protect, validate, and strengthen our district and the employees of our district. We know today as well, you will be voting on a change of calendar for next school year that would designate our district as a year-round system. This is also in the best interest of our students. During this current difficult time, and as educators, I know we will do what is best for our students and support this change. As we all know, the upcoming weeks will continue to bring new topics, situations, and worries, because sadly, COVID-19 is still at the forefront. In determining what is best for all stakeholders, please work to bring as many stakeholders to the table to share and communicate about what will be the best and safest steps to take for returning students and employees in the new school year. On today's agenda, you also have the task of replacing administration at McCollum High School. The high school of which I am proud to say my siblings, our children, many family members, and I are alumni of. Especially during these difficult times, this is not a simple or easy task. My hope is that my McCollum colleagues will begin next school year with a leader who will unite them, inspire them, and fully support them as they continue to do what they love to do, which is mentor, support, and educate our amazing students in the last 4 of their public school educational years. Thank you for the time you've given to me, and may you all continue to make decisions with the thought of what is best for our students, our communities, employees, and our great district. Thank you.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Appreciate that. All right, moving on to the next person. Miss Susan Brown or Braun. I see it here. Miss Braun is.
I'm right here.
Okay, great. As soon as you're ready, Ms. Brown. Sorry about that.
That's okay. And thank you very much for allowing me. I'm trying to be seen there. Thank you. Board members and Mr. Superintendent Soto, thank you for allowing me to speak. Mine will be very quick. It's in reference to the proposed or voting on year-round school calendar, and representing my campus with DPERC and whatnot. The 2 points that came up were, what financial monthly changes can we expect going from our current academic calendar to a year-round school calendar? More specifically, will we see changes in our August-September paycheck, since we will be on the 2020-2021 contract and pay scales? The 1920 carried over for the July and August paycheck, so we just want to know what the difference there will be. And secondly, I am being asked if the results for the choice of calendars that were voted on will be made public. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Last we have Mr. Luis Vera. See if it's connecting. All right. Oh, let's see. This is Luis there connecting to audio. Is it working? Luis, Mr. Rivera, are you there? Can you hear? I see your video. Sorry for the little malfunction there. It doesn't seem to be connected to his audio from what it says. Can you hear me there, Mr. Vetta? It's still trying to connect. Let's see.
Disconnecting. You got unmute.
All right, it's trying to unmute. It looks like it's connected.
I'm here.
All right. Sorry, Mr. Vetta, when you're ready, sir.
Yes, sir. I'm having to use my phone for the audio. For some reason, I can't. I'm having trouble with the laptop and Zoom. So, and one of the things that's said right off the bat is that you had over 100 participants and nobody else could get in, just for your information. So I don't know what's going on. But thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. My name is Luis Roberto Vera Jr., and I've been a resident of Harlandale all 64 years of my life. I wanted to call in today. I'm really upset regarding, I believe it's issue 66, little c, with the issue of the attorneys. Not in to the attorneys, that's not the issue. This board has the absolute right in the well-being.
Okay. I think it was muted.
Protects us every time TEA.
So, Mr. Vetta, sorry, you were muted for, I don't know what happened, but the connection.
Okay.
So,
I don't know what you heard.
So you still have about 2:30.
Okay. I don't know what you heard.
Yeah. I think we're at something right. So as soon as you get your train of thought, you're ready to go. You got 2 minutes and 30 seconds, sir.
Okay, again, I don't know what the last thing you heard, but let me just begin this way. I was intimately involved with Commissioner Parath Assistant Commissioner Cadrell, and the others involved in TEA when we're going through all these horrible issues. 90% of them turned out to be total lies, innuendos, and rumors. In fact, we didn't even raise an issue, and Commissioner Morath appointed the conservator, even though we could have. Legally, there was a lot of things we could have done, but we didn't. I've been practicing law for almost 30 years. What upsets me now is every issue that's been brought forth before every school district, not only charter schools, but public schools, is the issue of when it comes to contractors, bids, and professionals. The issue has always been the issue of transparency, an issue of not doing this thing properly. This issue is being forced on you by TEA. I understand that. But more forth by the conservative, I understand that too. What I don't understand is why no one has articulated why we're even doing that. Not one person has articulated as to why we're even going this far. What this board needs to do, replace Sanchez-Wilson if that's what you wish to do, but do it the way TEA said to do it, the way they trained you to do it, the way they sent you to these meetings and conferences to learn. Do it a professional through request for qualification, a bidding process through a bidding process, and contractors to request for proposal. This thing was pushed on you improperly. It doesn't even pass the smell test. What the reasons are, maybe some of you know, I certainly don't know. State Representative Pacheco doesn't know. Senator Menendez doesn't know. And maybe you don't know. I don't know. All I know is this is wrong, smells of hypocrisy, and it needs to be done the right way. If the conservative wishes to overturn whatever this board decides, that is way beyond the spirit of the law. Granted, does a conservator have that right under statute? Yes.
We're right there, sir. Thank you. Okay, so we do have one more person actually that was set up. We have Miss Gimbel. She will be our last speaker. Miss Julie Gimbel. Let me see if I can find her. Okay. You got 3 minutes, ma'am.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, Board President Moreno, Board Member Superintendent Soto, and Cabinet. I'm Julie Gimbel, HEA President. First and foremost, thank you for the stipend that was approved at the last board meeting for our employees and the insurance contribution of $25 additional, taking total to $350 in January. Tonight, we hope you will approve the salary step for our employees. We are fortunate and thankful we were paid through the end of our contract. Our teachers quickly learned and were very flexible using the technology to keep our students learning. Also keeping in mind that they had to balance all the other duties of being at home and some also managing their own children and the work they were also receiving. Our teachers were also essential workers, and one way to honor them is by supporting the salary step for all employees. Furthermore, I'd like to know whose bright idea is it to bring back the attorneys that were in place and permitted for the previous superintendents, hire a family, allow the deal of the oceanfront property, and allowed a previous board member who is no longer here to amend all the previous project manager's contract and rehire for different projects. This community knows of all the wrongdoing that was happening and why this investigation was prompted. You finally have a decent attorney who kept his project manager at bay and making sure the district and her follow the contract. If you don't want these attorneys, that's fine. But the least you can do is go out for an RFQ. There needs to be transparency. Instead of going forward, you're going backwards. As a community member, we will not stand for this, and I can tell you, we'll make sure that the media knows about this and call for an investigation. I will hope that you have you owe it to your constituents to at least go out for an RFQ, because it is the right thing to do. We do not need to follow and go backwards. Lastly, I hope you will support our superintendent and appoint someone for McCollum High School, somebody that is going to welcome every child into their school, who is will not bully any teachers, who is there for the right reasons. Remember, there is always two sides to every story. We need to do away with the old and going with the new. And I'm sorry that some of our public speakers tonight that are a part of the old resume with the previous superintendent feel that this is what we need to have. We need to move forward. Remember, there's always two sides to every story, and we need to support our superintendent in this decision. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. And again, I guess I apologize, guys, for the little technical difficulties. I know, as we mentioned, there have been some issues when it comes to reception and just general issues with, I think, T-Mobile, AT&T, and Sprint. So apologize for that. Item 4, moving into information and discussion items. Item A, COVID-19 goals and progress measures. Mr. Soto, if you can, instructional continuity.
Yes, sir. At this time, we have a couple of cabinet members come up to speak, and first up will be Melissa Casey.
Good evening, Board President, members of the board, Mr. Soto. I just kind of want to give you an update. We have ended the school year and now we're into our summer programming. I know we've had several speakers speak about parents being concerned. Right now, we have our enrichment camps going on. They started actually today. We have about 350 students that are enrolled in either a STEM, a fine arts camp, or a literacy camp. We also started today our bilingual Estrellitas program, our ESL for 3rd through 5th, 6th through 8th, and of course our dual language program virtually. In that program, we have over 100 students. However, we have approximately 30% of them whose parents opted for an online version rather than face-to-face. But we did have students that were on campus today, particularly our older elementary students who were very happy to be back on campus. Summer school, we will start July 6th through the 16th, and right now we have 825 students registered of those that were selected by their campus administrators. We have 180 of the 825 students who have opted for an online rather than face-to-face. So we're looking at approximately 21% of our current registered students attending summer virtually versus coming in and having a face-to-face. We did have that number change with our ESL program, basically because of the numbers that are kind of being publicized across the city. And of course, we're always going to be responsive to the needs of our students as well as the concerns of our parents. We are looking at a fall 2020 plan. We will be sharing that plan and vetting it through different groups. So once we have our initial plan, we'll share with our campus administrators and teachers. We'll share it with different groups of parents. There are some things in those pieces that we have to hold true to. And then there are, of course, there are pieces we can actually have input in and kind of get to, I guess, a better understanding. In that process, we can educate people to be a little, maybe less afraid to come back to school and to be together. We also are working on our schedules and curriculum. Once the board makes a decision on our school calendar, we will roll out what our schedule will look like, which will include modified times possibly for students with a PLC time for every teacher. We'll also look at our years at a glance and our curriculum as well as what that will look like with our new schedule. We are looking at not being fully in session 100%. Basically, that's kind of the guidance right now. And so we're looking at possibly alternating days among students and having that kind of K-12 and trying to make this as seamless as possible when we know that it will be difficult for our parents. And then finally, what will come around is all of the things that we looked at during this COVID in the spring. We looked at grading, we looked at class rank, all of those things we're going to look at again. So we will be revisiting grading. It will look different than it did from March, and it will look different from when we started at the beginning of last year, because our calendar and our programming will probably look more like a hybrid model, where we'll have online components, but we will have a few face-to-face days where we get to see students. We will be sharing that as soon as we have all the dates finalized. And hopefully after today, we will be able to share that with our parents, our teachers, our administrators, and move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Casey. Mr. Moreno, you're muted. Did you want to have any questions asked?
Oh, I'm sorry about that. I thought I was unmuted. Apologize. Did anyone have any questions towards A1? Ms. Ortiz, go ahead, ma'am.
Yes, because it is information and discussion items, we don't receive any information about the instructional continuity that Ms. Casey just outlined. Is there any way to get that information sent to us, please?
Sure. Mr. Soto?
Yes, we'll get it out to him. My apologies.
Mr. Soto, oh, I'm sorry. If I could just share, these numbers are actually from today. So something I could not have shared previously, but we'll definitely send them with HH.
Okay. And I just have one other thing, and I don't know if this is the part that I should mention this in. It's the McCollum High School medical assistant class that I asked about.
Mr. Soto, did you want to explain that, or Ms. Casey?
I want to have Ms. Casey go ahead and explain.
Okay.
She does have a timeline on this item.
Yes, it was something that I don't know if everyone received. There was an email sent, there was information sent in HH to all the board members, and there was a follow-up email sent, I believe, on Friday that discussed what has taken place in order to fill that position. We also, students still have the opportunity to take their certification test. On Friday, students were hand-delivered a letter with the information regarding that. Right now, we currently still have that position open, and now we have a position open at Harlandale High School. I will tell you, I believe that at this point, every single district in the city has a teacher for a health kind of, our health sciences opening. It's a hard to fill position. That is something that we have, I kind of exhausted our resources, and we're just kind of continuing to look. We publicized the opening across different markets and online. We've done it on our website. We've also looked at CTE, state and local conferences, but all of the districts are kind of competing for the staff members in order to fill those positions.
Can I ask one other question?
Go ahead.
Do we know how long it was open? Was it 8 months that they were without an instructor?
It wasn't, I don't know exactly that date, but the position wasn't officially open for as long as the instructor was out. The instructor took some time to resign.
So at least six months. I'm just trying to get a timeline and whether or not we even have a chance of.
Yeah. The dates are in that email, and I can follow that up, but I don't know that off the top of my head right now.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and I think it was November when this situation happened, and then I think it took about a month or two for that particular person to resign. And we can't post anything until someone resigns. We had a situation similar at my campus where unfortunately someone was on FMLA and we couldn't post. We had the whole year where that teacher wasn't there, sadly. And so we can't post until they resign or retire or something to that effect. Were there any other questions in regards to this? Because I do have a question. No. I don't know, this is more towards finance, but I figure we can bring it up here. Ms. Casey, I know one thing that was brought up is the idea of when we go back, if we have to do remote learning with the idea of lunches for our kids. I know that's something that we're going to be able to provide, but how would it work if sometimes our parents have multiple kids, anywhere from 5 to 10 kids in a household, and they're multiple ages or age groups. Is there a way to find a way where they can, because they're all trying to work on different things throughout the course of the day. I don't know, it's something that can be communicated to the staff to kind of be considerate of that, so they can go and grab the lunches for those kids. Those kids can all go together because they have to provide the ID. I don't know, that's something that's been brought up to your attention or so actually, or no?
Let me go ahead, Ms. Casey, if I can address that. Right now, we've got the waiver from TDA that allows us to continue the grab and go. And what that basically means is that a parent can come in as long as they have the identification like we're doing now, and we can give them the number of meals that they're requesting. If this continues, we would see that TDA would take the step to extend the waiver so that we can continue doing the grab and go. And this way it ensures that a parent can come in on behalf of their students and pick up the meals. So again, a lot depends on what TDA does, and beyond, I believe the waiver is till August 31st. So we'll certainly keep an eye on it and try to do as much as we can to provide the meals to the students.
I appreciate that, Mr. Hernandez. I mean, that helps out a great deal. But I guess I phrased it incorrectly. Pretty much what was communicated was the teachers were having them Zoom or Google Chat at that particular time when the lunches are being provided. So they can't leave with the kid because they're having to watch the kid do the work on their laptop. So that's what I'm trying to see. I guess that's why it's more in line.
And that would be related to our teachers to be cognizant of that lunch hour to not be scheduling some of those meetings like between 11:30 and 1 is
yeah, just because you have the high school and our kids eat at all different times, so they're used to different things. You know, our little ones are used at 10:30. Our oldest ones are used to like 1:40.
Yes, sir.
So it just kind of, I know we do have parents that have, or even in this case, grandparents that have 10 kids, and, you know, that they're taking care of. I want them to be able to utilize what Mr. Hernandez said, even if it's them having to go by the, you know, where the parent can leave them with somebody and they can just go by themselves and grab all of them at once.
Yes.
That'd be great. So
Yes,
thank you guys. All right, appreciate that. Moving on, any other questions towards that, guys? Okay. Item 2, finance, Mr. Hernandez.
Okay, thank you, sir. And just an update, as I just mentioned, the summer basically has started on June 8th. We're going to continue serving as we are doing now. We have the 16 distribution sites, 13 elementary campuses, and the 3 middle schools. We're providing both breakfast and lunch. We're serving between 10:30 and 12:30. It's a grab and go. Again, the same process. A parent can come in on behalf of their students as long as they have that identification. The only change to this caveat is that the district has gone to a 4-day work week instead of being on a 5-day work week. So what basically that means is that we would normally provide a meal on a Friday for the Saturday meal, but since staff will not be here on Friday, they're providing on Thursday for the Friday meal. So basically the student won't have a Saturday meal, but at least we provide the meals to those students. The reason why we're doing this also is normally when you have a summer school and students are attending your campuses, the students will go into the building, but we feel that that's going to reduce the number of meals that we can claim because we're getting a good turnout on the grab and go. It remains compliant with TDA requirements by preventing duplicate meals. And it allows parents to pick up meals without a student having to be present, which is very important to them. This will continue through the summer, but then during the summer school, as Ms. Casey mentioned, it will start with face-to-face on July 6th through the 16th. And at that time, we're going to add an additional 6 sites. So now we'll have a combination of 22 sites for this distribution, except on those 6 sites, those will actually be served within the site itself, a breakfast and a lunch. But again, we're trying to maximize all our efforts to get meals to these students. Normally we see a low turnout during the summer, but I think with the grab and go and the circumstances that most of our parents are in, they'll continue taking advantage of the meals that are being given during this process. Just as an update, as of the end of May, we provided 82,662 meals, breakfast, and 103,000 in lunches. So a total of 185,000 meals for the month of May. And each week we get an update and provide it to the board. This information was prepared as of the first week of June when the board packages are due. But basically that's the update on our meal distributions.
Okay. Any questions in regards to this item, guys, or no? Okay. Item C, communication, Mr. Rosales.
Good evening, board members, cabinet guests. We just wanted to update you a little bit on the communications and as far as information goes, what we're doing to go ahead and share continuity as far as the programs and initiatives that the district is doing. Right now, most recently, we're going to be sharing with one of our postcard campaigns, which is going to kind of encourage all of our families to remind them how we're going to continue the education and make sure that the kids have that distance learning opportunity and all the opportunities that they have when they are with the district, with programs such as CTE, our STEM, and anything that we have within the early college that we have available for our kids at the district level. This is also going to be a way to market and make sure that we reach out to some of those kids, maybe some of those charter schools that have been dropping, to register with us. And this is going to help us tremendously to ensure that we have information and responses for our families. We're also ensuring that we connect easily and in a timely fashion with a lot of our families who have questions about some of these programs, and making sure that they get directed to the appropriate department, appropriate center, appropriate campus, because they have doubts, they have questions, and of course we want to make sure that they have that information and that they get it in a timely manner, and of course also that they get it in their language as needed when they don't speak English or they are asking us these questions in Spanish. We also want to make sure that we streamline the communication, because this is going to make it easier for a lot of our families to get, again, that information in a timely manner. Some of those initiatives that we're actually promoting heavily are pre-K and K registrations that are fully done online. And we're pushing some of those out, and then also, of course, directing them to the departments. We're also promoting a little bit more of our meals programs and our summer reading initiatives. And this is really focused in a way to have that communication with their families, because they really do, especially given the times, that they have that continuous source of information that's reliable and transparent from the district.
Thank you. Anyone have any questions in regards to communications to Mr. Rosales? Yes, Mr. Ortiz, go ahead, ma'am. There you go. Should have muted. Go ahead.
Mr. Rosales, can we just make sure to the board members get on that mailing list? I'd like to see what's going out to the students in the event that we have any questions from constituents specific to a mailer. Thank you.
Of course, ma'am. Of course.
And I don't know if there's any other questions in regards to communication. I know, Mr. Rosales, I know you said it was kind of a lengthy process. I have been able to see the stuff on Instagram and Twitter. That's been pretty heavy-handed. But has there been any more headway in terms of the Facebook?
We are waiting. It's like I said, it has been a timely process. We did get some communication that they received our communication, and we shared with them. But if we do have anything, we are also working on other options of maybe just recreating our page, and we can explain those further as far as how we can continue on that process.
All right, thank you for that clarification.
Of course.
Okay. Anyone else have anything further? Okay. I know we did a great job. Appreciate you guys putting it all together for the graduation. So thank you guys for making it memorable for our kids. So moving on to item 4B, corrective action plan. Dr. Castleberry, I think you're muted, right, ma'am?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, I wanted to give the board a copy of the completed corrective action plan. I mentioned to you earlier that I was working on that with Mr. Soto and Mr. Hernandez. And so we have that document. It's in your board book. And we will begin working with the Lone Star governance people at Region 20 later this week, actually, to try to plan training that's required in the plan and tie it to Lone Star governance training as well, so that we can kill two birds with one stone and not take an inordinate amount of your time. So I'll be glad to respond to questions if you have any about the corrective action plan. Otherwise, we'll just keep you posted when we have a structure for some training. And we'll bring that to Mr. Soto and Mr. Moreno and try to work out a preliminary schedule and then check with board members to see if that will work.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Castleberry. Anyone have any questions in regards to the corrective action plan? Yes, Ms. Ortiz.
This would be separate and apart from any mandatory training. This would just be the Lone Star governance training on that corrective action?
No, it will not just be Lone Star governance. It will be the training that is specific to satisfy the requirements of the special investigation. That's what is the core of the plan. But I know that you wanted some additional corrective action, Lone Star governance training. And when I've talked with Dr. McAnally, she had wanted to do some more of that training also. So we're trying to just pull it all together, but it will not be just Lone Star governance.
Thank you.
Okay. So in that sense, Dr. Castleberry, I guess we mentioned it before too, there's some items that are within the confines of LSG that, like you said, we can knock out two at one time. And so it wouldn't be us having to do multiple things if we're already actually in action doing it, such as doing our board operating procedures and policies. That's something that we've been actively doing and we've been trying to complete since March. So I think that's where we're at for sure. That will be the next step. So hopefully we can get that going next month for sure.
Exactly. If we can serve two purposes with it, that'll be great.
Okay, great. Any other questions in regards to corrective action plan, guys? No? All right, thank you, Dr. Castleberry. Moving on to item 5. Let me make sure I got this right on the agenda. We have consent. If anyone wants to pull anything or make a motion, you're more than welcome to do so. So
Mr.
item
President?
5. Yes, ma'am, Ms. Ortiz.
I'd like to move to accept the consent item A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, and K.
Okay, we have a motion to approve items A through K by Ms. Ortiz. Do we have a second?
A second.
We have a second by Ms. Carrillo. So remember, this motion is amendable, it is debatable, and does require a majority vote. Any discussion? No? Okay, so we'll go down roll call order. Ms. Limon, yea or nay?
Yay.
Right. Mrs. Cavazos, yea or nay?
Yay.
Okay, Mr. Mendoza, yea or nay?
I can't go back. How do I go back?
Oh, sorry. I think you should be unmuted now, Mr. Mendoza.
Yay. Yay.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Ortiz, yea or nay?
Yay.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Mr. Mancha, yea or nay?
Yay.
Okay, myself, yay. Mrs. Carrillo, yea or nay?
Yay.
So much. And I do want to say thank you to Mr. Acosta and Mr. Binford for being available just in case we did need to discuss anything. So thank you for you guys joining us. All right, moving on to item 6, individual item 6A. The board will be asked to designate Harlandale ISD as a year-round school, year-round system. Mr. Soto, if you'd like to explain and clarify.
Many discussions with our staff and with the board. The district believes the calendar will best fit our needs for our students since we haven't seen our students since March. Given if we are to return to some type of normalcy, being designated around system allows the school district to apply for to do a calendar for an intersessional calendar, and that will be the next item that we would discuss if this item is approved. It gives us some flexibility on start times to bring the kids back a little earlier. It gives us some flexibility throughout the year to take a week off in October, another week off in March, and not take a week off, but to provide some intervention. And it also provides the flexibility if this pandemic does hit us early in the year, these weeks will allow us to be and it cools down. At that time, we can bring the kids back if given that opportunity. So there is some flexibility. It does also provide us 180 days of face-to-face instruction, which in turn will provide half ADA funding from pre-K to fifth grade elementary kids for summer, some summer intervention. So there's many positives being designated year-round school system.
Mr. Chair.
I would like to make a motion so we can discuss and approve if necessary.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Ms. Carrillo.
I'd like to make a motion to approve to designate Harlandale ISD as a year-round system.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Limon. All right, remember this motion is amendable, it is debatable, and does require a majority vote. So we can go ahead and discuss if there's any questions related to Mr. Soto or cabinet. You can ask now. Does anyone have any questions related to it?
I do. May I, Mr. President?
Yes, Ms. Cavazos, go ahead.
Mr. Soto, just for clarification, I did ask some questions prior to the meeting and they were answered, so thank you very much for that. But I am just a little concerned, and I hope that you can take that concern away from me. On those weeks that we are to bring those students back, on those weeks in that intercession calendar, to give them a little bit more of enrichment so they can catch up and be up to par with the rest of the students or their classmates. Are you getting any resistance from teachers? Is this going to be on a voluntary basis? You know, who wants to work that week? Is it going to be on a rotation with teachers?
Good question, ma'am. And I'll have Melissa chime in on the survey, but with the teachers, we're not going to be able to make them work those days because they're 187. They're on a 187 work schedule. So we're going to stay to 187. They will get paid like a premium pay to come during those days. And it would be the principal that chooses which teachers he would like to be providing that instruction.
Is it almost like a summer school? You know, those
Yes,
that want to work on those weeks or those days?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions related to the year-round designation? And just to clarify too, Mr. Soto, I know this was something that was of concern for some folks. When it comes to designating year-round school, I know I kind of shared with you and we were kind of on the same frequency in regards to it because there was a meeting that you had with all the superintendents and Commissioner Morath, and I was on the one with the board members and Mr. Morath, and one thing he said was a little caveat. If you want to be able to start earlier, you'd have to designate as a year-round school in order not to be considered, or you wouldn't have to follow the route of District of Innovation.
Yes,
is that true? I don't know if you wanted to kind of explain that as well.
Right. The way to be flexible with the start school day is either be a DOI with the District of Innovation or go ahead and get the designation of year-round school.
Okay. And then we just had to do the surveys and things like that, correct?
Yes, sir. And I was going to have Melissa chime in. She dug a little bit deeper in the survey, but majority of the survey, majority of the staff and community was saying, yes, we need to do something to our kids. They are falling behind. There is something that we have to do. And she'll get into more of the percentage because I don't want to say the wrong percentage, but there was a certain percentage that did say, you know what, we do have to do something, but let's stay traditional. And then if you combined either the year-round or the DOI, it outweighed the traditional, but they kind of were split on those two other options.
Right. So our survey to our staff, it was our parents, community, and teachers. And the survey just asked if we wanted to look at traditional methods for intervening with kids or if you wanted to look at something different. So I wouldn't say it was the majority, and I did share that with the board. I believe it was approximately, I'm gonna say maybe a little less than half that wanted a non-traditional method of intervening with students. So they wanted to work with students in intersessions. However, the calendar, they wanted to stay the same, which is almost like a contradiction. So once we had the survey and we got results, what we had to do was look at our committee, which was our DPER committee. So we already had a regular calendar that was approved. It was one that was shared. And so what DPER did is that we sent them the intercession calendars, and we asked them to vote on each of the intercession calendars. And on that, the overwhelmingly, it was 75% of our DPER members that selected draft calendar B based on the options of the intercession calendar.
And then also, I know when it comes to designating it as a year-round campus, designating it for this year, from all indications from what we gathered in that webinar, I don't think it would have us designating as a year-round next year. We can alter that, and this is more so of a one-time type of situation where we would assess next year to see if we would want to do that again. Is that correct, Mr. Soto?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then I guess the other thing would be, I know we have our ACE summer program already, our summer schools, everything is contingent, Mr. Soto, Ms. Casey, or Ms. Wolf, whomever. Is it all contingent of us having to pass through this for us in order to pull out all the mass information for summer school and how that's going to relate? Is that accurate, or? I don't know.
Summer school information is already out. What this calendar will do is help us planning for ACE and LEAP throughout the school year. So I know there's questions about what if students need care during the school year. And that's why Ms. Wolf is at the board meeting, so she can speak more to that. That is really what's pending. Summer school information, it has been shared.
Okay, so summer school starts when, Ms. Casey, exactly?
Summer school starts July the 6th, but today we started our Estrellitas program, our bilingual and ESL programs, and our summer enrichment that was virtual programming. And then we also have our ACE programming in the summer that's also online, which Ms. Wolf can speak to.
Okay, all right. I don't know, Ms. Wolf, you wanted to just share any tidbits before we move forward?
Sure, I can share a little bit. We're going to have our ACE summer program is going to be virtual this year, but at the same time, we are going to have kits that families can come pick up that have all kinds of STEM activities in them, so they can do them at home. We have a lot of contracted services and our very own teachers every day just filming videos and how-to things, from artwork to robotics to cooking to all kinds of things. And so every day the children will get a huge array of activities that they can be able to do and interact online and just work on individual things at home that will all come in a kit for them. So that is, after a lot of consideration and going back and forth about the best way to do our summer programming because of COVID, this just seemed like the best way to do it, to make sure our kids still got lots of fun and enrichment for the summer. Looking at the ACE programs across the state of Texas, I would say 99% of them are doing this the same way as well. And we're kind of doing a little bit of a hybrid where they're coming to their campus 2 times during the 6 weeks to pick up big boxes full of all kinds of wonderful activities.
Okay, great, thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, is that Ms. Limon?
Ms. Wolf, how many students do you have in the ACE program?
Well, during the school year, we have over 1,000 just at our ACE sites. During the summer, of course, not everybody comes to summer all the time, but we also open it up to other students, you know, when we have slots available. So right now, it just went online, and I think the first day, I think it went out on Thursday because it will start on June 22nd. I think we probably already have about 60 or 70 registered just in the day. So it's open for anybody that, you know, wants to participate.
Great job. Thank you, Ms. Wolf.
Also, just so you also know, we also have some online things for parents. Usually in the summer, we always do Zumba and some great things that parents ask us to do at the SOSA Center, but we can't do that.
we're actually having it online so parents can do it at home and watch the instructor and continue with that as well. A little bit of stress reliever for the parents.
Good job. Thank you so much.
Great. All right, thank you guys. I guess one last thing, Mr. Soto. So are we doing everything virtual then for sure, summer school wise? Are we still, because I know I was under the assumption that I thought we were going to have physical school for summer school. Is that
Yeah.
not?
What we have is we have Estrellitas ESL that it is face-to-face, but parents have the option of a virtual. And summer school, our plan is face-to-face, but we also have to offer parents a virtual option.
Okay, great. Just wanted to make sure, just because that's going to impact our year-round system. Okay. All right. Anyone else have anything related to the year-round designation?
Yes, may I, Mr. President, just a quick question to Ms. Casey.
Ms. Cavazos?
Ms. Casey, would you let us know once you have the numbers as to how many families opted to do an in-person summer school program and at-home summer school? Would you let us know?
Yes, I did read them off earlier today.
Okay.
So, but I can give you an updated one. So for example, summer school, we have 825 kids registered so far, and 180 of them are opting for a virtual program.
Okay.
But I can give you updates because they're currently registering.
Please, because I know that a lot of them might register, but may not actually make
Right.
it.
For our bilingual ESL, we had people register, and today we had about, I want to say 20 people say, I don't want to send them. And so even though they registered face-to-face, they still opted for a virtual.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, guys. Anyone else in regards to that? No? Okay, remember, we do have a motion to approve or to designate Harlandale ISD as a year-round school. There's no more discussion. We'll go ahead and call for the vote. Mrs. Limon, yea or nay?
Yay.
Thank you. Ms. Cavazos, yea or nay?
Yay.
All right, thank you on that. Mr. Mendoza, yea or nay?
Yay.
All right, thank you. Ms. Ortiz, yea or nay?
Yay.
Okay. Mr. Mancha, yea or nay?
Yay.
Okay, thank you. Myself, yay. Ms. Dario, yea or nay?
Yay.
Right. Motion carries. Moving on to item B. The board will be asked to approve a new start date for 2020-2021 school year based on a year-round system designation. Do I have a motion to approve and discuss?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Ms. Ortiz.
I'd like to make a motion.
Go ahead, ma'am.
I move that the board approve a new start date for 2020-21 year based on the year-round system designation.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I second.
All right, second by Ms. Cavazos. Remember, this motion is amendable, it is debatable, and requires a majority vote. So we'll open it up for discussion. Any discussion on this matter or any questions towards staff?
I do. May I, Mr. President?
Go ahead, Ms. Cavazos.
How early is too early and how late is too late as far as the starting date?
Mr. Soto or Ms. Casey?
I don't know if we're ever gonna have a right answer to that one, Ms. Cavazos. That's a great question. You know, during this time that we're at, we're just trying to take educated, research-based guesses. And to let the board know that the calendar didn't have to come in front of them. We just wanted to communicate for them to be able to see what they're approving and what we're gonna move forward with. But
okay.
It is there on your board book.
Yes, sir. I have one more question. Are you all looking at something in the middle, you know, maybe 2 or 3 weeks before we usually start on a normal calendar year?
Yeah, there was a couple of intersessional examples. There was 3 of them. There was one that started all the way in
July.
In July, at the end of July. And then there was one, you guys, when we sent it to you guys in HH, and there was some that were ending at the end of June. So there was 2 extremes. I believe the one Deep Perk voted in favor of is kind of right in the middle of things. The teachers still get a break. They still get 2 months off. And then they get two weeks more throughout the year.
Yeah, one in October and I think another one in March, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yes. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Anyone else on that or?
Mr. Chair, I do. I just want to clarify, we are doing the calendar B. Is that correct?
Yes, Ms. Carrillo.
Okay, that's all I wanted to clarify on. Thank you.
Okay. And then I guess, then no one has any questions. I have a question or two. In regards to, I guess, training, Dr. Salinas, how would it work with us not being at Region 20 or not having that a la carte that we normally have? How would that relate with us starting with staff and the trainings, especially for the staff that I know are still not well versed in remote learning or some of the activities that or initiatives that we're going to be planning?
So if you're referencing like new teachers, we're still planning a new teacher orientation. We're still planning 3 days of that. With regards to other teachers, everything right now with Region 20 is still online. So there are opportunities for teachers to continue learning and to, if anything new comes out, new initiatives, they're still going to have those opportunities.
Okay. So there won't be like a designated day or like, there was like 2 or 3 days where they would all do certain trainings and such.
Yes, I believe Calendar B should show you 2 district days, correct, Ms. Casey, if I'm wrong, please, and 2 campus days.
Okay.
We're looking at 1 district day, 1.5 campus days with a virtual convocation half a day and then a work day on the last day.
There you go.
But what we will do is we are going to be, CNI will be sending out like a virtual training catalog. We're looking at having Google fundamentals required for every teacher, which requires at minimum, everyone has a Google Classroom established for their classroom next year. And so that will be available online. And we are giving teachers a certain date to have that due by, which will give them a few weeks in between. I mean, a few weeks after school starts. So the training will be limited. It's not going to, where we up front maybe have like 5 or 6 days. We're going to be limited on that training, but we'll definitely work around that.
Thank you. All right. And then also, I guess with that, Mr. Soto, it'd be pretty much starting after summer school, we'll go right into pretty much the school year, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. If there's no other questions, guys, we can go ahead and call for the vote. So Ms. Limon, yea or nay?
Yay.
All right. Mrs. Cavazos, yea or nay? Okay. Mr. Mendoza, yea or nay?
Yay.
Okay. Ms. Ortiz, yea or nay?
Yay.
Okay. Mr. Mancha, yea or nay?
Yay.
Okay. Myself, yea. Mrs. Carrillo, yea or nay?
Yay.
All right. Motion carries. Moving on to item 6C, discuss and consider changing the scope of the 2 law firms serving the district, designating Walsh Gallegos, Trevino Russo, and Kyle PC as general counsel responsible for all areas except designating Sanchez and Wilson LLC to be responsible for legal matters related to new construction and contingency contract related to insurance settlement effective immediately. We'll make a motion to discuss.
Mr. President,
Yes, Ms. Ortiz.
can we move to item D and then come back to C?
Move to item D. Okay. In that sense, Mr. Wilson, can we just move that down or what can we do exactly? Sorry, I have you muted. Mr. Wilson?
Hear me?
Sorry about that.
Can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah, we can hear you now.
I would, if you're going to want to move items on the agenda, to make a motion and have it approved by the board to do that.
All right, so make a motion, like Ms. Ortiz said, to move item C after item D. Is that correct? Was that correct, Mr. Wilson? Just move item.
Yes, that's the motion that was made, yes.
Okay, so we have a motion. Was that correct? Can you restate that motion, Ms. Ortiz?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that the board consider item D prior to item C. I'd like to move that the board approve the proposed budget for the 2020-21 fiscal year.
Okay, so let me see. I think I can do that correctly. Do adjust it.
First,
So,
motion to move the item.
yeah, move first and then we can
Move first, okay. I'd like to move that we move item D for immediate discussion prior to item C.
Okay, so we have a motion to move D in front of item C. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, second by Mr. Mendoza. Remember that this motion is amendable, it is debatable, and requires a majority vote. Any discussion before we do roll call? No? Okay. Ms. Limon, yea or nay?
Yay.
Ms. Cavazos, yea or nay?
Yay.
Mr. Mendoza, yea or nay?
Yay.
All right, Ms. Ortiz, yea or nay?
Yay.
All right, Mr. Mancha, yea or nay?
Yay.
All right, myself, yay. Ms. Carrillo, yea or nay?
Yay.
Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and discuss item D now. Discuss, consider approval of the proposed budget for 2020, 2021 fiscal year. Make a motion to approve and discuss.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Ms. Ortiz?
I'd like to make a motion.
Yes, ma'am.
I move that the board approve the proposed budget for the 2020, 2021 fiscal year.
Okay, so we have a motion to accept item D, discuss, consider approval of proposed budget for 2020, 2021 fiscal year. Do we have a second for that one?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Limon. Okay. Any discussion before we call for the vote? No? Okay. Remember, we did discuss this previously, and the last couple meetings we have discussed it as well. So it's something that I think we're all pretty well versed in regards to the budget for this time. So we're going to go ahead and do roll call. Ms. Limon, yea or nay?
Yay.
All right, Ms. Cavazos, yea or nay?
Yay.
Mr. Mendoza, yea or nay?
Yay.
All right, Ms. Ortiz, yea or nay?
Yay.
All right, Mr. Mancha, yea or nay?
Yay.
Okay, myself, yay. Ms. Carrillo, yea or nay?
Yay.
Thank you, guys. I know it's something that's important just as well, so I'm glad we got it done pretty smoothly and quickly. Moving on to item C, 6C, discuss and consider changing the scope of the two law firms serving the district, designating Wash Gallegos, Trevino Russo, and Kyle PC as the general counsel responsible for all areas, except designating Sanchez and Wilson LLC to be responsible for legal matters related to new construction and contingency contract related to insurance settlement effective immediately. Do I have a motion to discuss?
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Ms. Limon.
Yes, I would like to make a motion to amend item 6C
Okay, ma'am, go ahead.
so that it reads, designating only Wash Gallegos, Trevino Russell, Kyle PC as our general counsel to be responsible to all legal matters, including the new construction and contingency contract related to insurance settlement, pending for an RFQ effective immediately.
Okay, pending RFQ. So we have a motion to designate Wash Gallegos, Trevino, and Kyle PC as general counsel for all matters immediately, pending RFQ. Do we have a second?
I second.
All right, we have a second by Ms. Cavazos for the amended motion. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
we could okay. I'm sorry. Do we vote on this or do we not? I'm sorry, you did a second.
Oh, no, I mean, I asked if there was any discussion. Did you have something to share or?
Yes, I
Okay.
okay, so on this item, I just want to clarify that our district has 4 law firms. We have Wash Gallegos doing our special ed. We have our Woody is our general counsel. We have O'Halen is going to be, it's our TA. We also have, we just hired Flores and Police Parda to do our roof. I think if we just have one law firm to take care of all the matters for our our district needs, I think for right now, Wash Gallegos is the best candidate for that position.
Okay. Anyone else want to share anything in regards to that particular motion, amended motion?
Yeah, Mr. Moreno, can I get a clarification as to what she means by pending RFQ?
Okay, Mr. Mendoza, I'm assuming Ms. Limon, you're saying effective immediately, we would have Wash Gallegos, Trevino Russo, and Kyle PC as our general counsel, and then you would want us to go for an RFQ for qualifications to to hire a law firm, whether it's our current or potential or any law firm. Is that what it is?
Yes, sir. Yes, Mr. Moreno.
Okay.
Okay, so I mean, with all due respect to my colleagues and to Dr. Castleberry, I would also like to see an RFQ come out of this. I know that Dr. Castleberry has the authority to, deny that, but it's just that I have had a lot of constituents ask me when they saw this on the agenda, they want to know why. I can't give them that answer because I myself don't know why. So, I think the best way would be to go through an RFQ to get the right qualifications. I'm not saying that they're not qualified, but so we can get an answer, because I have to answer to the people that voted me into this office. And I need to know those answers. So that's my take on that.
Okay. Anyone else? Yes, Mr. Mancha.
Yes, sir. What would be the purpose of hiring them temporarily until we go for an RFQ? Why don't we propose that we go for an RFQ now?
Okay, well, I mean, obviously there's an amended motion. We can still vote on that. We can, if it goes through, it goes through. If not, a subsequent motion or amended motion can be made in regards to the matter.
May I speak to that, Mr. Moreno?
Yes, Dr. Castleberry.
The district is about to enter into a new territory, a year-round program with students and parents, some of whom were not engaged this past year for part of the year, and some who were. There's the potential for a lot of issues to come up. Complaints, grievances, issues that the district has not dealt with previously. I think in order to deal with those expeditiously and thoroughly, you need a law firm that is well-versed in school law. That's the advantage that Walsh Gallegos offers in this setting. And you need it soon. I don't know how long it would take to do an RFQ, but it has to be on the street for a certain number of days before you can get the proposals. So I think it's in the best interest of the district to move quickly with what's proposed, and then at some point in the future, go through a process that makes everyone comfortable with it. But I would not want you to start the new year without having the resources of a school law firm to support you in addressing the issues that are likely to arise.
Okay.
May I, Mr. President?
Sure, Ms. Cavazos, and then I'll go back to Mr. Mancha.
Dr. Castleberry, if I may. For transparency purposes, your recommendation is for us to maintain legal representation with a law firm who specializes in school law, because we're still testing the waters during this COVID-19 crisis. Is that correct?
Well, COVID-19 and year-round schooling.
Okay.
So you already have a relationship with both of these law firms. So we're not pulling in a new firm, we're just shifting responsibility based on where we perceive the strengths to be of the firms.
Okay.
So this is to get us through this
new
territory. New territory that I think will present some challenges.
Yeah.
And we need to have somebody who's well-versed to give us answers quickly so that we don't slow down responses when those are asked for.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Mancha, yes, sir.
With all due respect to you, ma'am, we had Walsh Gallegos in the past, and we were giving false information. So that's what the purpose of us going with a different law firm. So we're taking a step back, is the way I see it. I would prefer to do an RFQ ASAP and see what is available that be able to cover every single little detail that you're talking about.
Okay, so Kessler, sorry.
Also, I'd just like to make a comment, please. We're currently in front of the Attorney General in regards to the approval of that contract, which is approved at the last board meeting by the school district. So the motion that was made and also discussions, I have to be cognizant of the fact that we already have a matter before the Attorney General on that issue. So.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear him. What did he say?
I couldn't hear him either.
I said that we're currently before the Attorney General on the approval of the contract that was approved at the last meeting. It's a process that we have to go through to do that. I know there was a motion made in regards to that, but there's currently pending a contract for the Attorney General that I've been working with them on. So,
Dr. Casper, I'm sorry, you were going to say share something prior to that.
Well, I was going to ask if there was an RFQ when Sanchez Wilson was brought in.
Yes, ma'am, there was.
Okay, so in that regard, would I have to, Mr. Hernandez, would you speak on that?
Regarding the process for an RFQ?
Yes.
Okay. So we would have to gather the information, well, not gather, but make sure we understand what the board is directing us to do in regards to formulating basically what we call the specifications. So we have many areas that legal services are being provided. We would formulate and make sure we understand those. And so I would think that that would take at least the rest of this week to do that. We'd put it out for at least 2 weeks. Then we take 1 week to evaluate, which is basically putting the information together so that way it can be presented to the board for them to evaluate and then determine which attorney firms or firms to go with. So right there in itself is 5 weeks. So when you look at where we're at on June 15th, the 5th week will take us through the end of July the 10th. Our next board meeting is July 20th. So it will not be in the board book the way we normally plan to have it, which is almost 2 weeks before the meeting. But if we get the approval to put it in subsequent to the RFP process completed, it certainly could be done for the July 20th meeting. And again, all depending on, do we get the information we need in order to formulate the RFQ?
And before we go to Ms. Ortiz, but Mr. Hernandez, if you can, I know it's been a while. I think it was back in 2015 when we went out for an RFQ in the summer of 2015 for legal services, legal counsel. At that time, we did have Walsh Eagles as our representation. Now, were they still within the means or time limit whenever we transitioned to Mr. Sanchez Wilson, I think October of 2015?
I'm not sure I understand what the question.
Because Dr. Kausberg was asking if the RFQ process was still valid.
Well, if I recall that at that board meeting, that's when the attorney firm switched from Sanchez, from Walsh Eagles. Motion was made, I believe, to appoint in Sanchez and Wilson.
So they had gone through the process for RFQ, and we had interviewed them as well, and we had interviewed Walsh Eagles as well previously, correct?
That I can't recall, sir. I mean, I don't recall.
Well, I mean, then I'll tell you yes. I mean, I'm trying to get you to reaffirm, but yes, we did interview. We did have Walsh Eagles. I think we interviewed Eskimi and Ponic. We interviewed, a variety of people, and we did choose to go back with with the Walsh Eagles at that time, and then we did go ahead and make the transition to Sanchez Wilson in October. So they had been interviewed, and there were 2 interviews I think we had for both groups beforehand. But I don't know if anyone else can speak to that, but I guess I have a stronger memory than most. I don't know if you can, Mr. Hernandez, or
Mr. President,
yes, Ms. Carrillo.
as I recall correctly, that was at the early college high school, and there was no RFQ. That was at the same time that Mrs. Zima's contract was amended, and there was no RFQ. Mr. Sanchez Wilson came in and took over. There was no RFQ, sir. And it was at the early college on I want to say it was October, maybe 29th.
Sure, I know the dates, but at the same time, they did go through the procedure. That's what happened, is like as if it wasn't actually done. There was a procedure previously, and there was a process that was followed. Not necessarily that day, but it was followed previously. So that's where we're trying to reaffirm and actually get clarification on, because that's a little misleading, misconstrued. Mr. Mancha?
Yes, sir. There was an RFQ. And when we went into closed session, I asked them a question, and I was told that I was micromanaging. And that's the reason that we went ahead and we left it the way it was. Because I was told.
Yeah, I don't know if you can say what's in. Yeah. I don't know if you can say that, sir. What was discussed in closed session?
I didn't say what was said. I'm just saying that that's what I was told.
Okay. Ms. Ortiz, I'm sorry about that. Go ahead, ma'am.
Because I have yet to be involved in an RFQ. I would like to find out, Mr. Hernandez, who evaluates the submissions and who rate and ranks them for the board's consideration. Like, let's just say we get 10 law firms. Does the school board interview all 10, or is there an internal process that rates and ranks them, and who does that to rate and rank lawyers?
The way we've done it is basically we see that the board is the one who hires the attorney firms. We'll compile the information. It's the board that will determine the interview questions. They'll interview each of the firms, and then based on that, they'll make their selection.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so if there's not anything further on that, what I would, I know in the conversations with Dr. Castleberry have been really open and candid, so I appreciate her being that way. You know, I did mention, I mean, with all due respect, I mean, Walsh Gallegos obviously is a firm that is well recognized and held in high esteem. But at the same time, you know, the interactions that were with us previously, I wouldn't bold or say my confidence for that law firm is in the highest. Mr. Resendez is a fine individual, fine person. I respect him as a person. Professionally, as the time I did spend on the board initially when I got on the board, I don't think it was the best of what was in the interest of the board and the school district in particular. I think we had some issues that arose, and unfortunately, things were not communicated effectively or efficiently. And we decided to go in another direction because we couldn't have that vote of confidence for that particular firm. Now, granted, not everyone agreed to that idea, but at the same time, that's the reason why I shared my disagreement with Dr. Castleberry on that matter. I know they have the expertise in this and that. We're not we're not paying Mr. O'Hanlon any further. I know when there's certain groups that are going through, even Walsh Gallegos, I mean, a large law firm, if there's necessary items to be done, they do get other representation as well. So, I mean, if it's a big case, you're not gonna just have one law firm or just one group of lawyers, you're gonna have multiple groups. So it isn't uncommon to have multiple groups. Even the way it's originally stated, the actual item, I'm fine to go back to the initial item and then go out for an RFQ. So it would be different from what Ms. Limon presented.
Mr. Moreno.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm just kind of confused on the negativity on Walsh and Gallegos. if there was so much negativity on Walsh and Gallegos, why didn't you remove them? Why did you let them stay as our contract for special ed? I'm just confused. I mean,
So this is a different, I mean, I would think by this time, Ms. Limon, and I don't want to get back and forth, but
yes, I understand.
after this, we'll call for the vote. But at this time, just to answer your question, you know, that was something, part of the RFQ that we did discuss with Sanchez and Wilson. If necessary, they would have to support because they didn't have specifics when it came to special ed, but they could handle all the other matters. But as well, you do have the idea that perhaps we, you know, being a young board member at the time, to me, and just as you are saying you're a little confused, I mean, there are items that were confusing, especially for someone that was brand new and trying to feel things out. And so, you know, if you wanted my personal opinion, that's what I will tell you, or my personal belief and why. That's why. But we won't get back and forth.
Yes.
I am going to make an amended motion, I guess, once we get to this. So, Mr. Wilson, are we able to make an amended motion? I know we have to vote this motion either for or against. Oh, sorry, you're still muted.
Trying to get used to this, but no, someone can make a substitute motion, and the substitute motion would be voted on at first, and then you go back to the main motion.
To the main motion. So I would have to do a substitute motion or amended motion?
It'd be a substitute motion.
Okay, so I move to make a substitute motion to designate Walsh, Gallegos, Trevino, Russell, and Kyle PC as general counsel, responsible for all areas except designating Sanchez and Wilson LLC to be responsible for legal matters related to new construction and contingency contract related to insurance settlement, effective immediately, pending RFQ, or asking for an RFQ, excuse me. You want to have a second on that?
Yeah. Hey, can you get me another Sprite from back there? I'll second it. I'm sorry.
All right, second by Mr. Mendoza. I think we've already kind of explained. So we're going to go ahead and call for the vote. Roll call order, Ms. Limon, yea or nay?
Mr. Moreno.
Yes, sir.
I want to make sure that it's clear from the record that the motion is to make Walsh Gallegos general counsel as effective immediately, keep our firm as new construction, also
yes,
contract, but then go out for RFQs. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so everybody clear on that? Apologize. Okay. All right, Ms. Limon, roll call order, yea or nay?
Nay.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Ms. Cavazos, yea or nay? Yay, thank you, ma'am. Mr. Mendoza, yea or nay?
Yay.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Ortiz, yea or nay?
Nay.
Okay. Mr. Mancha, yea or nay?
Nay.
Okay, myself, yay. Ms. Carrillo, yea or nay?
Yay. Nay.
Okay. Motion carries. I think we go from here is Mr. Resendez.
Excuse me, what was the vote?
I know, wait a minute, I got confused there.
What was the vote? Count,
4-3.
please.
It was 4-3.
And this is for?
This is for designating Walsh Gallegos. Mr. Resendez is our lead counsel as of now. And we would have Sanchez Wilson as responsible for new construction and contingency related to insurance settlement.
Excuse me, it
Go
wasn't
back to the
designated.
original.
Mr.
What
Chair,
happened to the
can I
original
have
vote?
Blanche- Can I have Blanche the recording?
He had a subsequent motion. I made another amendment, I said so.
Yes, but excuse me, it wasn't
Yeah,
to
go ahead, Ms.
designate
Diaz. Yes.
Mr. Resendez as, it was to designate Walsh, Gallegos, Trevino, Russo, and Kyle. It didn't,
Yeah.
there was no motion that indicated that it was Mr. Resendez.
Well, Mr. Resendez is the representative, so he would be the person that would be in contact.
Well,
Then nay, I'm sorry.
All right, wait, no, you guys, you got to be clear. Like this is.
It's not clear. We hear you going on and off, sir. I apologize.
Okay, so Ms. Diaz, can you? All right, so guys, be quiet, please. Please be quiet. I'm sorry. But can we have Ms. Diaz restate what I mentioned, or is she able to do so?
Yes, sir. She's under, let me find out what she's under. 1 second.
Mr. Moreno, that was my reasoning for clarifying the motion.
Sure, and I thought we did. I apologize if you could hear me.
Mr. Moreno, I think I'm just going to issue a directive to clarify things.
Go ahead, Dr. Castleberry.
In accordance with the Texas Education Code, Section 39A.003, the board is directed to change the scope of the two law firms serving the district, designating Walsh, Gallegos, Trevino, Russo, and Kyle PC as general counsel, responsible for all areas except designating Sanchez and Wilson LLC to be responsible for legal matters related to new construction and the contingency contract related to insurance settlement, effective immediately and lasting through the 2021 school year.
Okay, so does that mean, I mean, I get that, but that's different from ongoing, isn't it? Or how does that?
That means toward the end of the school year, the district can go out for an RFQ and consider other law firms for the next school year.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Wilson. Mr. Resendez, congratulations, sir. As always, I mean, it's always something to consider when it comes to an RFQ, just to be transparent. So, but thank you. We'll go ahead and move on to item 7A, convene in closed session as authorized by the Texas Government Code, Chapter 551, Sections 551.071 through 551.084. Item A, the board will consider and take a possible action on the recommended regular personnel report, TGC 551.074. B, the board will consider and take possible action on the superintendent's recommendation for principal at Early College High School, TGC 551.074. C, the board will consider and take possible action on the superintendent's recommendation for principal at McCollum High School, TGC 551.074. D, discussion and possible action of superintendent's evaluation instrument or provide waiver, same TGC 551.074. Okay, so do we have a motion?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Ms. Carrillo?
I move to approve for us to go into closed session as authorized by the Texas Government Code, Chapter 551, Sections 551.071 through 551.084.
Okay, so we have a motion to move into closed session by Ms. Carrillo. Do we have a second? All right, I see a second by Ms. Ortiz. She is on mute, but thank you, Ms. Cavazos. So we have a motion to go into closed session. Remember, this motion is amendable, it is debatable, and requires a majority vote. Roll call order, Ms. Limon, yea or nay?
Yay.
All right, Ms. Cavazos, yea or nay?
Yay.
All right, Mr. Mendoza, yea or nay?
Yay.
Ms. Ortiz, yea or nay?
Yay.
Mr. Mancha, yea or nay?
Yay.
All right, Ms. Carrillo, yea or nay? Or I'm sorry, myself, yea. Ms. Carrillo, yea or nay?
Yay.
Okay, motion carries. It's now 8:36, move into closed session. Mr. Resendez will let you in just as well, okay, sir? All right. And we can take a little recess, guys, if you need some time to use the bathroom or such. Okay, I apologize. Give you guys about 5 minutes.
Yes, can we get at least 5 minutes? And
Yes,
then
ma'am.
we'll get an invitation to go to the next.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that right?
Yes,
Thank
correct.
you.
So, Mr. Moreno, I'm going to leave this meeting. You're going to send me an invite, correct?
I believe so, yeah, we should be able to. Okay.
No, not you. It was somebody else.
All right, guys, waiting for everyone to come back. I know it takes a little bit sometimes. Make sure everyone's back. I see Ms. Cavazos, Mr. Mancha. Okay, still getting everybody back. Mr. Soto's there, okay. I guess we're still trying to get people connected back, so appreciate your patience. All right, there's Mr. Mendoza, Mr. Resendez.
Okay. Unmuted.
Yes, sir.
All right, trying to find everybody back. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
See Ms. Carrillo joining us shortly. Ms. Ortiz is there. I think we're just waiting for, oh, there's Ms. Limon. Okay. All right, Ms. Carrillo's there. As soon as you're available, Ms. Carrillo. Okay. All right, we are now back in open session. It is 9:34. 7A, the board will consider and take possible action on the recommended regular personnel report, TGC 551.074. Do we have a motion? Yes, Ms. Ortiz. Sorry,
I'd
go
like to
ahead.
make a motion.
Yes, ma'am.
I move that the board accept the recommended regular personnel report, TGC 551.074.
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Ortiz to approve regular personnel report. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Carrillo, okay. Any discussion before we go further? No? Okay, roll call order. Ms. Limon, yea or nay?
Yay.
All right, Ms. Cavazos, yea or nay? Okay, Mr. Mendoza, yea or nay?
Yay.
All right, Ms. Ortiz, yea or nay?
Yay.
Okay, Mr. Mancha, yea or nay? Yay, okay. Mr. Myself, yay. Ms. Carrillo, yea or nay?
Yay.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Item B, the board will consider and take possible action on the superintendent's recommendation for principal at Early College High School, TGC 551.074. Do we have a motion?
I do, Mr. President.
All right, Ms. Cavazos, go right ahead.
I move that the board approve the superintendent's recommendation for the appointment of a principal at Early College High School.
Okay, but you do have to say her name, I'm sorry.
Yes, I'm sorry, yes. Oh my gosh.
It's
Marcha. I'm sorry.
Millicent Marcia.
Millicent Marcha. I remembered Marcha. I apologize. I can do it all over if you want.
Yeah, would you mind restating
Yeah,
that? I'm
not
sorry.
at all. Let me write down the name. It's going to be hard for me. Millicent Marcha. Okay. So I move that the board approve the superintendent's recommendation for the appointment of a principal at Early College High School for Miss Millicent Marcha.
Okay, so we have a motion by Ms. Cavazos. Do we have a second?
I'll second. I'll second.
All right, second by Ms. Limon. All right, no discussion, anything? Okay, roll call order. Ms. Limon, yea or nay?
Yay.
All right, thank you. Ms. Cavazos, yea or nay?
Yay.
All right, thank you. Mr. Mendoza, yea or nay?
Yay.
All right, Ms. Ortiz, yea or nay?
Yay.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Mancha, yea or nay? Yay, okay. Myself, yay. Ms. Carrillo, yea or nay?
Yay.
All right, well, congratulations to Miss Marcia. I'm sure she's going to do some wonderful things for our kids, and we're excited for her to have that opportunity. Congratulations. Don't know if she's watching, but congratulations. Item
She'll watch the
C.
recording.
Item C, the board would consider and take possible action on the superintendent's recommendation for principal at McCollum High School, TGC 551.074. I'll go ahead and make the motion. I move to approve the superintendent's recommendation of Mr. Ricardo Maraquin for principal at McCollum High School. Is there a second?
I second.
All right, second by Ms. Cavazos. Any discussion? Okay, so roll call order. Ms. Limon, yay or nay?
Yay, I mean, nay, I mean, yay.
Yay, okay. Ms. Cavazos, yay or nay?
Yay.
All right, Mr. Mendoza, yay or nay?
Yay.
All right, Ms. Ortiz, yay or nay?
I'm going to abstain.
Okay. Mr. Mancha, yay or nay? Yay, okay. Myself, yay. Mrs. Carrillo, yay or nay? All right, congratulations, Mr. Maraquin. He's done a fabulous job at Arlington Middle School, and he's going to take those talents to McCollum High School, and I'm sure they might be running that place pretty soon. So moving on to item D, discussion and possible action of superintendent's evaluation instrument or provide waiver of same, TGC 551.074. Do we have a motion for that? Yes, Ms. Ortiz?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion.
Yes, ma'am.
I would like for the board to consider waiving the superintendent's evaluation instrument for the 2019-2020 school year.
Okay. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
A second.
All right. And I apologize, I forgot the whole next part. This motion is amendable, it is debatable, and requires a majority vote. All right, so I appreciate you guys. We got a second by Ms. Cavazos and Ms. Carrillo. All right. Do we have, go ahead and go roll call order. Ms. Limon, yay or nay?
Yay.
Okay. Ms. Cavazos, yay or nay?
Yay.
Okay. Mr. Mendoza, yay or nay?
Yay.
All right. Ms. Ortiz, yay or nay?
Yay.
All right. Mr. Mancha, yay or nay? Yay. Okay. Myself, yay. Ms. Carrillo, yay or nay? Yeah. Okay. And just to reiterate, we are going to evaluate Mr. Soto in due time, just with everything that's going on. It's just something that we would be beneficial to do so at a different time. But we are also going to be able to do different things informally and make those goals a part of Lodestar governance as well. So hope people don't misconstrue the way it's phrased, but we are going to be actively working collectively. Okay. So now the most exciting part, which is adjournment.
Mr. President, may I have just a few seconds of everybody's time?
Sure, Ms. Cavazos, would you like to share something?
Yes, I do. I wanted to share something. As you know, we had graduations last week. Carlindale High School had graduations, and I applaud everybody who had a part in organizing. They were the most beautiful graduation ceremonies that I have been to as a guest and as now a trustee. So I applaud everybody because it could not have gone any better in my eyes. But what I wanted to share was that I had family come to my son's graduation, and more so than applauding and giving my son accolades, those accolades and those applause were coming for the school district. They could not be more vocal, my family, as to how efficient things were running, how polite everybody that was working and helping the crowd sit and, maneuver through the ins and outs. They were very attentive. They were very polite. They were very professional. Not one single eye rolling, not one, that's not my job, I don't know what to tell you. So all the accolades that day were for the school district. And I wanted to make sure that I let everybody know, whatever you did and however you did it, in how crucial moments you had to make these decisions, people noticed. People noticed the hard work. They noticed the efficiency. They noticed the effort and heart that you put into giving these kids a graduation to be remembered. And my family was very, very, very impressed with Harlandale. And I wanted to share that with you all. So thank you so much, Harlandale, and everybody who was involved in those graduations from beginning to end, from the, you know, front scenes to the back scenes. You all did a fabulous job, and I wanted to applaud. On behalf of my family and my friends that watched it and that were present, there were all the accolades were for Harlandale ISD. So I wanted to share that.
Here, here, Ms. Cavazos. Here, here.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you guys so much. I know everyone did their part to make it special for our kids, and it was a very monumental moment for us to be able to be the first school district in San Antonio, possibly Texas. So thank you. Moving on, anyone else before we move to adjourn? Okay, someone would like to make a motion to adjourn?
Mr. Chair, move to adjourn.
All right, have a motion by Ms. Scadio to adjourn. We have a second?
A second.
Okay, remember that this motion is amendable, it is debatable, or I'm sorry, this motion is not amendable, it is not debatable, but does require a majority vote. Okay, so roll call order. Ms. Limon, yea or nay?
Yay.
All right, Ms. Cavazos, yea or nay?
Yay.
All right, Mr. Mendoza, yea or nay?
Yay.
All right, Ms. Ortiz, yea or nay?
Yay.
All right, Mr. Mancha, yea or nay? Yay, okay. Myself, yay, and Ms. Carrillo, yay or nay?
Yay. And good night, everyone. God
All right,
bless.
motion
Good
carries. It is 9:44. Thank you so much, guys.
Stay safe.
Oh, okay. I think they said you're gonna take it home?
Yeah.
Okay.